Welcome back. Let's talk Predators versus Coyotes playoff series preview. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about, I don't know, actually, because I'm going away on a mini staycation for the next 2.5 weeks or so. I will be trying to shoot a few videos while I'm gone, so please look out for those. And, of course, I'll be back before the play-in series start, if they start, at the end of July, beginning of August. Now, this is the last video in the series, as I mentioned, and I'll put up a link up top over the last few clubs, matches, play-ins that I've shot, so you can click on those at your leisure. But, of course, you can just as easily find them in my play-in series, in my playlist. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word for a second. Let's talk about Nashville versus Arizona. Now, the Predators finished 5th in the Central with 78 points. They were seeded 6th. The Coyotes finished 5th in the Pacific with 74 points. They were seeded 11th. Let's talk about some special teams and some team stats here. And starting with the power play, Nashville's 25th. And yeah, I know that kind of sucks, but it actually improved greatly over last year. I want to say they were second or last in the NHL. And that's because they brought in a WHL from the Canadian Hockey League power play specialist. So he's helped improve that. Now the Coyotes are 18th in the league. And they also brought in a new power play coach named Phil Housley. You may recall who that is. He was the former coach, of course, of the Buffalo Sabres. I think he even was the former assistant coach with the Predators as well. Anywho, the penalty kill for Nashville actually got worse. It's now 29th, which is bizarre seeing as how good their defense is, really. And then, I mean, that's got to improve by the plan, right? Otherwise, they could be toast. At least once they get into the actual playoffs. The Coyotes are 5th in this category. Pretty amazing. They slid, I think, just a smidgen from last year. The problem, especially for Nashville, is that they're in the top third of the league when it comes to taking penalties. That could be a problem. The Coyotes are last. They don't take many penalties at all. And but the Predators are good at drawing penalties. We'll see how that all kind of works out. Now, when it comes to the goals for category, Nashville's 17th in the league. Arizona's 22nd. Goals against, the Predators are 18th. The Coyotes are 3rd. More on that in their goaltenders, who have been helping them get to that number. Face-off win percentage. The Predators are actually pretty good in this category. They're 4th. The Coyotes are 21st. Now, when it comes to 20-plus goal scorers, the Predators only have 1, but they do have 2 18-goal scorers. And on the Coyote side of things, they have one 20-plus goal scorer and 1 18-goal scorer. When it comes to 50-plus point getters, there's 1 in Nashville, and there is 0, nada, nothing in Arizona. Now, a couple of key points about each of these teams. Starting with the Predators, Josi is 2nd in points for defensemen with 65. Carlson from the Washington Capitals, he's 1st. He's got 10 more points than Josi. And then, interestingly enough, Hedman is 3rd with 10 less points than Josi. Now, he's also 7th in shots in the league, and 1st amongst all defensemen in that category there. And goaltending-wise, Saros is 3rd in shutouts in the league with 4. The Nashville Predators are also 5th in the league in shots per game with 33.1. And lastly, 2 of their top 5 point getters in Nashville are defensemen. Yikes. Let's talk about Arizona keynotes. They are one of 2 teams in the league with 2 goalies in the top 10 in save percentage. And I'm talking about Kemper, who's 3rd, and Ranta, who's 8th. The other team I'm talking about is the Dallas Stars with Bishop and Hudobin. Now, let's talk about positional stats here, starting with the goaltenders. And we'll begin with Pekka Rinne. Now, he's 37 years old. He'll be 38 in November. 6'5", 217 pounds. He has one more year left on his contract for $5 million. He played less games than Saros this year. He only played 36 with an .895 save percentage. Last year, he was a .918. The year before that, a .927. Yeah, in 6 games in last year's playoffs, he was a .905. So, yeah, his time could be done here. I expect Saros to start in net. Now, he's 25 years old. He just had a birthday in April. He's 5'11", 180 pounds. He has one more year left on his contract at $1.5 million. Now, he played 40 games this season with a .914 save percentage. He was a .915 last year. And he played one game in the playoffs. I'm not sure if that he stepped in during the game, but he was a .952 save percentage. Now, when it comes to playoff games, Rinne has played 89, more than all the goalies on both these teams combined. And that's over 8 different playoff appearances. He's got a .913 average, and that's with just over 11 seasons in the league, not including this one. Saros only has 7 playoff games under his belt in 3 separate appearances with a .909 save percentage average in 3 different seasons. It's more like 4, but in his first year in the league, he only played like 1 game. So there's that, yeah. Now, there's an asterisk here because in 2018, Saros played 4 games in the playoffs with a .952. And what brought his average down was 2017, where he played 2 games and it was an .824 save percentage in the playoffs. So there's that. Now, on the Coyotes side of things, let's start with Darcy Kemper. He's 30 years old, just had a birthday in May, 6'5", 215 pounds. He has a contract extension for 2 more years at $4.5 million. And in 29 games, he's got a .928 save percentage. Pretty impressive. Last year, he was a .925, by the way. When it comes to his playoff experience, he's had 9 games in the playoffs in 3 separate appearances and has an average of .931 save percentage in just over 7 seasons. But the last playoff game he was in 2015, where he played 1 game for Minnesota and had a shutout. And really, it was 2014 where he had most of his experience in 6 games, also with the Wild, with a .913. Now, moving on to Kemper, or Antti Ranta here, excuse me. He's 31, just had a birthday in May, 6 foot, 195 pounds. He is signed for 1 more season at just over $4.2 million. And in 33 games this season, had a .921 save percentage. And the last time he was in the playoffs was 2016 with the Rangers, where in 3 games he was at .895. Yeah. So, and that's basically all his playoff stats that I need to tell you. And that's just and that's all within 6 seasons in the league. Also, of course, not including this one. Let's move on to defense, and let's talk about first about goals. Now, there is a 9-goal difference between the two clubs and their defense. Nashville's got 39 altogether. Josi has 16 of those, and then there's Chychrun for the Coyotes, who's got 12. Point-wise, there is a difference of 41 points between the 2 defense categories. Josi's got 65 of those for the Predators, and Goalie has got 32 for the Coyotes. Now, forwards, let's talk about them, and starting with goals. The Predators have 12 more goals on their side of things. Forsberg leads the way with 21, and Garland has the most for the Coyotes with 22. Point-wise, the Predators also dominate this category. Not by much, though. Again, more math. They lead the way by a difference of 21 points. In total, they've got 397. Forsberg has the most with 48 points. And then Schmaltz leads the way for the Coyotes with 45. There's an asterisk there because Taylor Hall really has the most points overall with 52. It's just that half of those points, 25 of those points, I want to say, came while he was with the Devils. Otherwise, there's only like a point difference if you include all of his stats. Now, let's talk about who has the edge in each of these categories positionally. Starting with the goaltenders, it's got to be Arizona. Now, I know Rene has got more experience than anyone, but he hasn't looked good at all this year. So the Coyote goaltenders have been pretty solid the last 2 seasons. Defense-wise, I think you very obviously have to give that to Nashville. From the forward side of things, I think it's kind of even. However, that could change rapidly for the Coyotes if someone named Taylor and Phil pick up the pace. Now, special teams, obviously you got to give the edge there. The Coyotes, stats-wise. And then there's coaching, and I'm going to give a ever slight nudge to Rick Tocchet over John Hynes, because although John Hynes has playoff head coaching experience in the NHL, where Tocchet does not, Tocchet's been around the league much longer, mostly as an assistant coach. And ironically, he was behind the bench when the Penguins won the Stanley Cup against the Nashville Predators with Phil Kessel on his team. So he knows the Nashville players pretty well. So I think that's going to be an advantage for him. But let's talk about keys to the series, starting with the Predators. Is Saros up for this? I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on the guy. At least he has Rene to whisper in his ear, back him up, that sort of thing. So look out for that. The next key is, will Duchesne and Arvidsson wake up out of their coma? Duchesne has had a real off year. So has Arvidsson. He's like playing fourth line minutes some of the time here. Looks really weak on the puck sometimes in the corners. Both these guys, Duchesne had a great year last year with Columbus in the playoffs. Arvidsson's playoff stats aren't that good. But he's scored a ton of goals in the previous seasons. So look out for those two players. The next key is, will that new coach smell continue to linger for Nashville into this play-in? Can John Hynes pull the right strings to move this club forward? It'll be a big deal for him in his coaching career if he can. Next key is, what's up with that penalty kill for Nashville? That's got to improve. So maybe with his time off, John Hynes and his crew can work on that. And lastly here for Nashville is they do have an advantage when it comes to more players with playoff experience. That could be the killer for them. Now, on the Arizona side of things and keys to the series, right off the bat, it's all about Hall and Kessel. Not Hall and Oates, Hall and Kessel. These two guys have had a slow year, to say the least, especially on Kessel's side of things. But they're big performers in the playoffs. More obviously so on the Kessel side. He's got a lot of playoff experience. He's just under, I want to say, a point per game. Hull, however, I think he's only had one playoff appearance, but he did really well, over a point per game. So these guys could really cash in on their next, especially Hull, on his next paycheck if he shows up for this. Next key is, how will these two goalies perform under pressure? They've been great during the regular season and for the past few seasons, but not much playoff experience there, at least in a while. Next key, does Tocchet's playoff coaching experience, especially his assistant, and on the assistant part of things with Pittsburgh, does that give him the advantage? And lastly, where else do the goals come from besides Hull and Kessel and maybe Garland? I don't know. They've really got to squeeze some blood out of the stone here. Now, I would love to hear how you think this play-in is going to go, especially you Arizona and Nashville fans, down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and and I really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for that. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And hey, in this crazy topsy-turvy world we're in right now, first and foremost, be kind to each other. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.